do you see going on in your market, man? We appreciate you hanging out with us and waiting patiently. What's going on in Philly?
Yeah, of course. No, it's been very educational. So, out here, it's kind of a complicated market because it's a little bit like Tale of Two Cities, where we have Philadelphia, which the median home price is like 250,000, and then you have the suburbs within an hour outside of Philadelphia, where it has some of the like top school districts, and the average price is like 450. So it's really a lot. It's gotten a lot different in those two markets, and we service both. A lot of brokerages around here, they service the city and they service the suburbs with the good school districts, with the nice neighborhoods. And it's really become where in the city in the last year there was a 7% price drop, but in the suburbs it's been about a 7% price increase. So in the suburbs, inventory is still super tight. In some of these areas where it's a really good school district, you might only see 5 houses for sale in an entire school district. And, for every house, there might be still 5 to 10 buyers. So you're still seeing multiple offers. They're not running up the price as much. It might be going like 5% above the listing price, not like 10% as it used to. But in the city, it's the opposite, where there's a lot of people running for the door. There's a lot of investors that bought houses to rent out in the city near college campuses and all that kind of stuff, and they're having a hard time renting them, or there's too much crime and headaches. So it's kind of really two different markets, but we still have the inventory problems that a lot of your other guests were mentioning earlier.
When we go to Rocket Homes, and I like this website, and I mean I'm not endorsed by them by any means, but when I like the fact that they're mining data, and they kind of give us a lot better data than our own MLS does. I mean, it's so hard. You can't, I mean, they're making it even more and more difficult. I had mentioned in a podcast or two ago that I used to be able to very quickly go into Bright MLS, and you're using Bright MLS, and we could go in there and we could see at a glance what the latest update was to a specific listing, whether they had a price reduction or not, and how much it was and what the date was of it. Now I have to go to, it's a second step. I have to go to another page to find that data, and it's just a pain. It's like the associations, they don't want to make it easier for the agents. They want to make it more difficult because they don't want us to actually know what the real story is either. I think they just want to keep the agents as much as they can in the dark, and then they can't, strategize and educate the consumers. I mean, that's my take on it anyway. But when I go to rockethomes.com, I'm looking at the Philadelphia market here. And it says that the housing market condition is a major, probably, if it could get any further down into this buyer's market indicator, it would. And since December, since year over year, basically it says that you guys have had off of a 256,000, median sold price, like you're saying there, $21,000 year over year negative decline, or 7.7%. And I thought it was interesting because when you look down at the per bedroom, the price by bedroom count, I mean, 4 bedrooms, almost 10% price decline. That's pretty massive. Are you saying that you had kind of mentioned that crime, do you attribute this type of decline to crime?
I hate to say it, it's pretty much 100%. And I'm in the age group where like a lot of my clients are my friends. They're, young families, just having kids, just got out of college, young professionals. And they're all like, dude, I don't feel comfortable with my wife walking down the street. I don't feel comfortable with having my kid in a stroller in the city. And it's really a shame because I went to college in Philadelphia. I grew up there, born and raised in this area. And I love the city, but it is a shame what it's come down to. And I don't want to get into the politics of it, but there are a lot of rules and laws that it just seems like it's actually they're getting softer on crime, not where it seems like there should be getting harder on crime, which is really bizarre to a lot of people, but it's unfortunate.
There's a news article on Philly, the Philadelphia Inquirer, that was published recently. It says the Philly region is one of the top 10 housing markets to watch in 2024. This is according to the National Association of Realtors, says after 2 years of subdued activity, the association expects the national housing market to do better in 2024 in the trade group's analysis of the 100 largest metropolitan areas. And we go down to this chart here. It has Philadelphia as number 3 in the country, Dayton, Kettering, Ohio, and Harrisburg, Carlisle, PA, and then Philly, number 3, with 40%. They're saying that the share of homes first-time buyers can afford 41%. But you're telling us the tale that they don't want to live there because of the crime. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen in Philly? You know, it's funny because not that long ago, it didn't seem like crime mattered. when we were going through the pandemic and people were willing to buy a house anywhere, are you seeing where a lot of the people bought in Philly and they're like, now I want to sell just 2 years later?
Yeah, and Philadelphia, it's one of those areas where, when rates are going down, just like a lot of areas that are gentrifying, you start seeing all this boom and investment and everybody's, buying properties there and building them up. And, we have a lot of friends that, would buy houses like brand new construction in a gentrifying area that seems like it's up and coming, but then that, slows down or stops. And they're like, I didn't think this improvement was going to take this long. I thought the crime was going to get less by now. And that's a big part of it. I think one other piece to touch on with the Philly market is it is a big college town. A lot of people don't realize, like, we have UPenn, Drexel, St. Joe's, Villanova, Philadelphia University. Like, there's a lot of big prestigious schools down there. And if you look at college enrollment, that's also heading in a bad direction. Like Temple University, all these huge universities. So there, and because it's a college town, there is also a lot of investors that buy investment properties near these colleges to rent them out. But enrollment's down. That means these landlords aren't getting their properties rented. So that's been a lot of also commotion, because we do a lot of property management and deal with a lot of developers too. And that's been some grumblings as well.
I was just going to ask, the Airbnb market, are you seeing a lot of people and getting rid of them, listing them for sale?
Yeah, so we haven't had as much of a boom in Philadelphia. Well, let me rephrase that. So we have zoning rules with who can rent Airbnb versus who can't and who can get a permit. And they were really soft on it. A lot of people were honestly doing it still off the radar and that kind of thing. And then they started cracking down more and more. And it seems like a lot of people are opting to do long-term rental versus Airbnb, just for the cost and the headache of it, also the permit factor of it. But there's definitely less, but I don't know how much of that is because they're having a hard time renting them versus the laws and the rules are cracking down. But I think it's probably both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Joe, do we have any live callers?
We did, and then they hopped off.
They bailed out on
I
us?
think Johnny Fly.
Huh? Johnny Fly was on?
But I think that he was just waiting
gone?
too long.
Oh, man. I know. We kind of have been getting carried away. While we have Matin in here, if you guys, we have any live callers, want to click on the link, Joe, you have it pinned at the top. Yeah. You guys want to come on? We'll take a couple callers here and maybe let Matin have some fun answering some market questions. What do you think, Matin? Do you think we're going to have a housing market crash?
So, as we all know, I'm sure you guys agree, real estate is a real market specific regional business. And I got my license in 2004, went through that first wave. And I kind of think a lot of these things are similar where, and back then markets that went up 20, 30, 40, 50%, they crashed the hardest, right? And markets that went up 10, 20%, they flattened out or they barely went down. And I kind of feel like that's happening again this round where, like our market, it might have gone up, 20 to 30% versus a lot of parts of the country maybe went up double, 100%, whatever. I don't think we're going to see as much of a crash, but some of those markets, I do think, just like last time, they'll probably see a bigger dip. And, I think the closer your market is to the average price of a home in the country, I think you're going to see less and less of a dip. But that's my personal opinion.
So let me ask you a question, because you have your own Remax brokerage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a partner or is it just you?
No, just me.
Yeah. When did you open up your brokerage?
So I got my real estate license in 2004 and I opened my brokerage in 2015.
Okay. So we're right along the same. I mean, I've been in the housing market in a different capacity since 1989. I was a contractor and then a home builder, developer, and didn't get my real estate license till 2005, and opened up my brokerage, Sachs Realty, in 2017. Why'd you open up a brokerage, and what are your thoughts now compared to, when you were an agent and you had everything handed to you, and the brokers, now they give you anything that you want basically to be there. What do you think what do you think you said that you've gone into property management? I mean, what other revenue sources and how have you started or established, and what are you doing now to survive?
So I could probably talk your ear off on that subject, but they say broker stands for broke, right? I'm sure you've heard that joke.
Oh, yeah.
But
I've said it.
yeah, yeah. So when I got my license in 2004, I really got it because I wanted to be a real estate investor, and I have invested in a lot of real estate. I've developed, all of the above, etc. And when I first started, the splits were like 50-50. I'm sure you remember those days too. And then as I got, did more and more sales, I beat up my broker with my splits and blah, blah. And then eventually, I was doing really good with my sales in our market. Remax approached me. I used to be a Keller Williams agent. Remax approached and said, "Hey, you're the kind of guy we're looking for. We want you to start a brokerage. It's, this much money, but you get 100% commission split and you'll be your own boss, blah, blah." So I took the red pill and I opened the brokerage. But then, fast forward, it is very difficult to make money as the broker because you have to nowadays give such ridiculous splits to make everybody happy, because every other broker out there is giving ridiculous splits and ridiculous fees. And not only that, but you have to be their butler on top of it to make it work. So because of that, I've always, like I said, been an investor. That's been my passion. But I think with a brokerage, you need to have at least 30, 40 agents to even be able to pay your bills, and they need to produce a little bit. If you could really think about it, I have a couple of friends and other agents that have approached me to opening a brokerage. I'm like, look, if you can get if you're a top producer and you can get a 90% split as an agent, why would you get all this extra overhead with rent, staff, accounting, electric, utilities, all this stuff for an extra 10% or even less, depending on how you negotiate. So it's tough to make it make sense, but we also have a mortgage business. We also do title. So we, have those revenue streams, and then property management. And, I could say over the last year, I'll be honest, I haven't paid myself from the brokerage $1. All my sales go into overhead and all the above, but the staff's getting paid, all that stuff. But from property management, we've been making a lot of money, and that's been a lot of income. And we're not selling ourselves short by saying that. I mean, we were in the top 5% of MLS last year. So we do very well. It's just, I think people underestimate how much it goes to the top and how much it goes to the agents. So not to talk your, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I agree. I mean, I think it's